Let's get into that first story. We have an exclusive for Timcast.com from Cassandra Fairbanks. Family of Jake Gardner files wrongful death lawsuit against county, special prosecutor, and attorney general's office. I just want to read the opening of this because it's a very serious and very important story. Cassandra writes, the parents of a Nebraska bar owner that committed suicide after a fatal altercation with violent rioters have filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the county, the attorney general, 2 unnamed detectives, and the special prosecutor in the case. Gardner, 38, shot and killed a rioter who was attacking him, his elderly father, and his business during last summer's Black Lives Matter riots. Prior to his suicide, he was indicted by a grand jury on counts of manslaughter, use of a firearm in the commission of a felony, attempted first-degree assault, and making terroristic threats. But only after intense political pressure was placed on the city. The lawsuit accuses the plaintiffs of conspiring to deprive Gardner of his right to a fair trial and due process, deprivation of Sixth Amendment rights, deprivation of 14th Amendment rights, a Brady Rule violation, wrongful death, and failing to prevent the deprivation of his rights. Gardner was a Marine and veteran of deployments to Iraq and Haiti. He described himself as a libertarian, but voted for Donald Trump in 2016 and volunteered for his campaign in 3 states. The district attorney had originally ruled that the shooting was self-defense. On May 30th, Gardner confronted a group of rioters outside one of the bars he owned in Omaha called The Hive. One of them had just violently attacked his 70-year-old father, which was captured on surveillance footage. During the chaos, Gardner was knocked to the ground. The veteran fired a warning shot and attempted to back away. The situation took a tragic turn after 22-year-old rioter James Skurlock jumped on his back and began choking him. The veteran could be heard pleading with his assailant, saying, get off me, please get off me." According to the lawsuit, the choking lasted at least 18 seconds before Gardner fatally shot Skurlock. Skurlock had repeatedly broken windows at Gardner's bar and other businesses in the area earlier that evening. Still, the fatal shooting sparked even more rioting in the city, which escalated after Donald Klein, the Douglas County attorney, determined that Gardner had acted in self-defense and declined to bring charges. In what appeared to be a political move to quell the riots, Douglas County District Attorney Shelley Stratman appointed Special Prosecutor Frederick D. Franklin to handle the case, though the court said that they expected the same outcome. Franklin is president of the Midlands Bar Association, an organization for black-only attorneys. The lawsuit notes the special prosecutor had heavily implied Gardner was a racist when he announced the charges at the height of the racial tension in the nation by saying the decision was not made because he, quote, may or may not have been a racist because being racist is not against the law. Yikes, man. There were no hints of racism in the Gardner messages, in Gardner's messages or reasons for Franklin to imply that there was. The special prosecutor inflamed people so much that Gardner received more than 1,600 death threats that week. His family was also forced to move out of the state for fear of their own safety. Now, the story goes on a bit more. There's statements from the lawyer involved, but I want to point out something really important as we move through the next bit of stories. This guy got 1,600 death threats. I'm fairly convinced none of those people will face any kind of repercussion for those death threats. But for a fact, if the person was in any way anti-establishment, right-wing, or populist, then that would have been all over the news as the extremists are coming, et cetera, et cetera. I got to say, this story is nightmarish. It's coming back up because, of this lawsuit. But here's a guy who begs, get off me. He had already warned him several times. Those warnings, terroristic threats, so saith the prosecutor. Telling someone like back away, I'm armed, that's making threats, and that's terroristic threats. Things look, I don't know, they look fairly dark, I suppose. Now, to be fair, this happened, last year, and the lawsuit is bringing this back up. So I don't want to act like we're seeing more of this kind of thing. Specifically, we haven't had the level of riots we had during the George Floyd riots. But you take a look at the Chauvin case, which wasn't that long ago, and you get riots and, the jurors are scared of retaliation. I think more than one juror said that they were scared, right? Do you guys remember? I know there was one alternate. I
heard that.
And I think there was another guy who said there were 2 of them.
Yeah.
And now we have the Rittenhouse trial coming up. I am not convinced Rittenhouse will get a fair trial. And a lot of people have said that they think he will. And I'm like, why would anybody go up against this machine where these people can send all these death threats and nothing bad happens to them? That they can go around, these people are literally destroying buildings and attacking people, and they're called the victims. Yeah, I don't know, man.
It's a kind of an example of how like law is one thing, but you got to kind of put the law aside when you're looking at what's going on right now around the world. Violence is the last resort, absolute last desperation resort, you do not do it, because if you do it, court of public opinion goes after you. You see 1,600 people issue this guy death threats. 1,600 people. They were going to go.
Well, he received 1,600 death threats. Maybe some of them were
as far
doubles.
as he was concerned, his life was over, so he took his own life. Like that was without the legal system. I mean, obviously the legal system was busting this guy's balls too, but
I mean, I think the common thread here is that it's the politicization of our reality, and in violent instances is where it's the most maybe pronounced. But like, I mean, just look at obviously all the COVID stuff. Yeah, sorry if I'm quiet there, folks. I'll get a little closer here.
There we go.
With all the COVID stuff, I mean, there's or if you want to talk about the quote unquote lab leak hypothesis, that was politicized because Trump went one way and everybody else went the other, and
Well,
so
there was that one doctor who said it, that we initially dismissed this because it was Trump who said it.
Am I allowed to say COVID on YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But be careful,
Just making
because
sure. Okay.
if you add the 19 afterwards, no, I'm kidding. They got weird rules. The
So
rules are
weird.
absolutely weird.
Yeah, you have
weird,
to, I'm
weird.
aware of them for sure.
I mean,
Dude,
yeah.
the weird thing is, like, if Biden farted in public and someone recorded it on their iPhone, that would become political because of why? Social media? And
If
so, like,
Biden voided his bowels because of his old age, they would claim that it's completely normal. It's like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's a normal thing. Don't worry about it.
it would get
Do you see the?
tens of thousands of views on Twitter, comments, retweets.
Well, I gotta be honest. It'd probably get banned. They'd say
Yeah.
it's fake. It's manipulated. It's manipulated. He didn't actually void his bowels. He just took a dump.
I'm
in
wondering
public.
if we need to change the way our courts work. Like, because
No,
how
no,
can
no,
you get
no.
a fair
Listen,
trial in this day and age?
I got to stress this point, man. I think the law is absolutely, well, I shouldn't say absolutely, but I'm exaggerating. But I think the law is very much so meaningless in a certain sense. Obviously, we follow the laws. We recognize what laws, what the laws are to the best of our abilities. There's a lot of laws people don't know about. I was watching this video on Never Talking to Cops, and the guy points out it's a crime to accept like sea creatures, like seafood or creatures or whatever, from someone if they obtained it. It's like if it's illegal in another country to obtain it and they trade it to you, you committed a crime in the U.S. Like there are laws that are really, really weird, right? The problem is, though, we can follow the laws to the best of our abilities. We can live peacefully. We say, violence is wrong. The issue, though, is it's cultural. If the law is don't do X, but no one's willing to prosecute it, the law may as well not exist.
Right.
So if the law may as well the law may as well right now be do not, vandalism. Destruction of private property is a crime, a felony punishable by up to a year in jail, or it's a Class A misdemeanor, punishable by up to a year in jail if you're right wing. That's what it should say. Or it should say, an exemption is included for anyone who toes the establishment line.
Like the age-old situation is if you have the mob, the crowd, the populace on your side, the court's going to side with you. They're going to get you off, or they're going to prosecute who you want to prosecute. And if you know the judge, they're going to get you off.
Sort of. I think that's how it kind of used to be.
Yeah.
But knowing the judge was connections and access to resources. There's something that there's two motivating factors here. One would be greed, where the judge is like, oh, that's so-and-so's kid. If I could do him a favor. The other is fear. Oh, if I don't prosecute this guy, they're going to show up and burn my house down. Whatever they say. So now we have a two-tiered justice system. You can call it anarcho-tyranny, or you can call it something worse. You've got ideological courts where they'll be like, well, they're protesting, arrest the guy, give him all the charges in the book, he's going to prison. And then when the death threats come in, we don't care. No one's protesting that. So long as regular people, the politically homeless, conservatives, whatever, don't protest, they've lost their chance, in my opinion, to be completely honest too. There was maybe a period 5-6 years ago where the right could have gone out and done big mass peaceful protests. Now you get a handful of guys to walk out with American flags and they'll scream, the far right's coming, the far right's coming. The media will claim you're a white supremacist or a Nazi, and they'll shut it down in 2 seconds.
How do you fix it? Do you get the jurors all over the world to port in on like video chat and listen to the trial and then vote anonymously?
Well, I mean, I think the real problem here is that our court system, everybody's so accessible now. So like everybody's a public figure in some way, so if you're a juror or if you get doxxed, basically people can access you, and it's not fun getting death threats. I mean, 1,500 of them that's a lot of death threats. 1,600. And I mean, I've gotten maybe, I don't know, 100, something like that. But like
none of those get taken seriously. They don't go after any of those people.
If it makes you feel unsafe for sure. Just, tangentially, like you know, there's a digital world and there's a real world, but you think about the crossover and like, you know,
I guess
scary.
I guess the problem is if they started prosecuting the stuff immediately, it maybe never would have gotten this far in the first place. Like they are letting it get worse and worse until I think there's going to be a snap. Like when regular people don't feel safe anymore and they just lose their mind. You know what I mean? It's almost like enduring some kind of torture where every day you're inundated with these stories about violence against regular people, about how the justice system is against you, and then you don't feel safe, right? So there was this report a while ago. It was talking about the Arab Spring, and I might be getting this wrong, but I believe that they basically said like there's 3 things that people need, and it's food, shelter, and security. They need to know. The security is their knowledge that they can exist, they can survive, they'll be able to, you know, live. They need a place to live, and they need to eat food. And if you take one of those things away in large enough numbers, you'll get a revolution. So security is extremely important. The idea that people feel safe and secure and can trust that they won't be gulagged, I suppose. But that's going away. It's going away when you get to stories like this. And you get everything we've seen now. I think the Rittenhouse thing is going to be really serious, because you don't got to say anything. I'll say it. I'll quote Destiny. You know, Destiny is a leftist. We had him on the show, and he said it was the clearest cut case of self-defense he had ever seen. Kyle Rittenhouse and what happened. Now,
I obviously can't say anything on that because,
right.
But playing the role of witness makes you acutely aware. I mean, because that's a role. Your role is to say what you saw and not inject, you know, any opinion on that. And just like based on the media coverage that happened after Kenosha, I was viewed one way or another by this group or that. Right. And by the way, I'm no friend of either side because I'm also a victim in that case.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.